we have a, you could say, somewhat of a special forum. This is, by the way, this is Steve Smith here. I'm the director of the VLab and also the host of the VLab Forum. And per usual, I'm accompanied by John Chattel, who is our technical production manager. And we're coming to you live from the VLab Forum studios in beautiful downtown Silver Spring, Maryland. So as I was saying, we have a kind of a special forum today. As John Chattel pointed out to me, we're coming up in February on the 2-year anniversary of the virtual lab. So he suggested that we kind of take the opportunity to have a sort of reflective discussion on VLab and sort of take account of where we've been and where we're going. And so what I'm going to do is present a little bit of content on that subject, and then we'll open it up to questions. So I'd like for everyone to, be ready for that period at the end to, we're very interested to hear if you're a current VLab user, what you like, what you don't like, if you're a new person or been around for a while, to get your perspective on things and to weigh in. So without further ado, let's proceed. So next slide. So to remind everyone, the overarching goal of the VLab is to manage innovation, streamline operations to research, or so-called O2R, and accelerate research to operations, the so-called R2O in NOAA. And this is a big topic in NOAA. In fact, coming up next month, the NOAA Chief Scientist, Dr. Spinrad, is having an R2, they're calling it R2X summit here in Silver Spring to focus on this specific issue, on improving the transition of research and development to operations. So VLab plays very prominently in this important NOAA mission. In fact, some might argue this is maybe the most important mission in NOAA, is that we are tasked with taking research and development and bringing it to bear on our operational missions. There are multiple missions within NOAA for the benefit of the American taxpayer, to improve the lives of folks as well as enhance the economy. Next slide. So to remind also those who may not be familiar with sort of the basic jargon of the virtual lab, this diagram is presented. We sort of have two different sides of the house that we call collaboration services, which is on the left-hand side, and development services on the right. So the collaboration services are a set of web tools that are anchored by the concept of a community. Each community has a set of tools that they can use. They don't have to use all of them. There are blogs, forums, wiki pages, libraries, workflow. And these are set up to allow people who are collaborating or plan to collaborate to facilitate that collaboration in a virtual mode. So it allows collaborators who are geographically separate from one another to work in this mode and basically enhance that collaboration to however they see fit. Then the development services is focused on actual working projects, be they software development or science projects or some combination. We're using, in that case, an open source tool called Redmine, which is used to essentially can be used for project management, but as well as software management, and that has been very successful. I should say that the collaboration service is the backbone for that. Is an open source package called Liferay. Next slide. So just a perspective on some metrics focused on the growth over the last, this slide is focused on sort of the last year. And you can see in the number of users that they have been increasing steadily in both the development services and the collaboration services, with with time. And on the right-hand side are the number of communities and projects as well. So we basically have doubled in both areas, and that shows good, steady growth in both the sort of sides of the VLab. Next, please. Another metric that we can look at in terms of usage is the number of software repositories. So this one goes back all the way to 2012, but you can see there's been a large growth in the number of these code repositories. And this is really significant because software code represents intellectual property. This is sort of the ultimate, one of the big outputs in NOAA's mission is, so we receive funds from Congress to do research and development, and we have scientists and developers who work to enable and translate this R&D to actual applications and models and so forth. And it takes, a lot of the time, it takes the form of software. So you can see that the amount of software that's being managed within the VLab continues to increase. And we have found that this has been one of the most popular aspects of the lab to date. So the previous charts sort of show basic, counts of things, users, communities, etc. But a question that we often get asked is, well, what's the actual usage? What is going on? How often are people accessing the virtual lab and using it? So these next two slides show some metrics which have been generated with Google Analytics. So the first slide is focused on the development services in the Redmine side. And so you can see I've put up 2 months in. We basically began implementing the Google Analytics back in April of last year. So there's 2 metrics shown there, the number of sessions in April and December, then the number of users. So you can see the dramatic increase in both of those metrics over that time period. From 1,784 to 3,000 sessions in the month, over 3,000 sessions in the month of December. So that's a significant increase, and the same with the number of users. We also get the question sometimes, well, how of the users that are signing on, are they sort of, how many of those users are new? They go there and they say, oh, this is interesting, and then they don't return. And over this period from April to December, the breakdown in that percentage you can see is 12% roughly are new users and almost 88% are returning users. So most of our users have been there more than once. Lastly, the average session duration for the development services is 10.5 minutes. So actually in December, if you take that statistic by the number of sessions, there over 500 man-hours were spent in total working in the VLab development services, which is a very large number and does represent actual use, people managing their projects, their software, etc. So we believe that the VLab is being used for day-to-day business of NOAA in a very effective way. The next slide shows the same statistics for the collaboration services. And here the growth, the use is less. This is the life ray side. So here you can see there's similar growth in both, but here we tend to have smaller average session duration, about 5 minutes per session compared to the 10 minutes in the development services, and so that translates into about 200 man-hours in December for the collaboration services. Breakdown in the new users, we have fewer returning users in this side of the VLab than we do with the development service. So next, please. So let's focus on just some high-level achievements in the 2 years since VLab's been around. Number one is VLab is now the go-to place to do R2O for AWIPS. The AWIPS is a very important IT system for the National Weather Service, and all the development now that is required for AWIPS is managed through the VLab, and that is going to continue even after the recompete. So we have been very successful in working, and this was a very large effort in developing the distributed configuration management to make this happen, and working with the AWIPS program office. So for the first time, we are able to go to a very diverse group of development organizations and manage this code more effectively than in the past. The VLab AWIPS community is now the official source of AWIPS documentation. A big one that happened in December, we did complete the migration or the rehosting of the VLab onto the NOAA IDP web farm in College Park. This was a big effort and now has positioned the basic hosting of the VLab in a very rock-solid, government-owned web farm that will be, in the future, will be mirrored in the Boulder facility. It also puts us side by side with the big data, the government data tanks, if you will, for all their environmental and modeling data, which opens up a whole new set of potential applications for VLab to be co-located with those data. Number 4, many important projects now rely on VLab for this R2O mission. There's just a small set here shown, the National Blend of Models, GOES-R, the AWIPS Hazard Service Project, Extratropical Storm Surge, the Multi-Radar, Multi-Sensor, the MPAR, the Multi-Phased Radar Project, Impacts Catalog, the NOAA Weather Wire, NDFD verification, aviation forecast verification, and part of the FACETS project, the FEE tool. The code in those projects are managed exclusively or partly, in many cases, exclusively within the VLab. We stood up a adjunct program which allows field staff to contribute to a national R2O project. So we implemented this through the NOAA rotational assignment program. So we now have people who are working in the Weather Service field office who work part-time from that field office, contributing to a variety of projects, some of them specifically on VLab, others on other projects. So this was a really good thing. It's a win-win. It provides more resources for these important projects that can be brought to bear, as well as provide wonderful experience for these field folks who want to sharpen their skills or apply their skills, extend their circle of contacts for potential new job opportunities, etc. So this has been a big success. We stood up a virtual lab support team which provides comprehensive user support Monday through Friday during business hours. So we have a fully staffed support team that many of you may have used. And we did this out of hide, basically. We got no new resources to do this, but we provide that coverage, which I think has been highly successful in providing, the basic services that is required for this type of a capability. And we have monthly focal point meetings, which allow users to ask in-depth questions of our staff, share best practices, and learn of upcoming changes. So now I'd like to turn to some lessons learned that we have derived from these last 2 years. So I'll just go through these. So number 1 is that easily accessible software code repositories are the key to most transition projects. So the Git and in some cases the version repositories and the management of them are really, really important. And this, again, this service provided by the VLab has sold itself almost from day one, and it continues to grow. We're finding some NOAA users have been using GitHub to do something similar, and they've had to either use it unapproved or gone through large sorts of bureaucracy in order to be able to use GitHub, and then now they're finding they can use the VLab with basically no issues at all. So this has really been a 100% winner. Number 2, we found that using the software management tools like Jared and Jenkins in the VLab improves the quality of the code developed. So what we're finding is there's a lot of the project, let's say project owners haven't necessarily been exposed to these tools at the beginning, but they end up using them and liking them and finding that it improves their management of the code and also improves the quality of the code. So there's been an implicit improvement in the output from projects using the VLab because of that. Number 3, the VLab reduces direct as well as indirect project transition costs. So if you're using the tools in VLab, you don't have to buy COTS tools at sometimes exorbitant prices and install those tools and then have licenses and for a set number of users, etc. You basically hit the ground running. You don't have to spend a penny on that. And not only those direct costs, but you don't have to have some of your system administrators spending valuable time managing those tools and updating the licenses, etc., because we do all that for you. So if you add that up over hundreds to potentially thousands of projects across NOAA, that this represents a significant cost reduction. So this is important. Number 4, VLab allows for customized transition solutions, which is very important for NOAA because NOAA is a very diverse organization, so a one-size-fits-all does not work. So VLab does not attempt to be a one-size-fits-all. It's a one size that can be customized in 1,000 different ways. And we have, safe to say that every single project operating in VLab is doing things slightly differently and benefiting hopefully from that ability to customize and get things right. We have found that there is a significant learning curve for users to become proficient in using, in particular, the collaboration tools. So this is, I could say, something that we're still adjusting to. A lot of people have become, rightfully so, accustomed to doing things in a certain way, and we may have over simplified the learning curve in order to switch from using their old tools to using the VLab tools. So this is something that we're working on, trying to provide better training and better, I would say, onboarding for new users and how to take advantage of these tools. We found there's an ongoing need for marketing to potential user groups. So practically a day, we're very embedded in this, and we're out promoting the virtual lab, but practically a day doesn't go by where someone will say, well, I never heard of this, and rightfully so, because there's still a lots of need to provide additional advertising for the resource and at a very basic level. A consistent theme we've heard is that there's a demand to sort of open up VLab to non-NOAA users. As some of you may know, we do allow non-NOAA users in there on a sort of user-by-user basis, but NOAA's posture is to try to open up, and this is consistent across the federal government, to sort of open up our data, our applications, our software to to the greater, in this case, weather and environmental enterprise, if you will. So we're looking towards solutions to try to do that, to make it a little bit easier for collaboration to occur and R2O to occur with folks who don't have a NOAA email address. Number 8, sharing information enhances collaboration and raises all boats. So this is the what has been stated, and but we've seen it directly in VLab itself. So the idea that in working, and we're positioned so that we have situational awareness of a broad swath of R2O projects within NOAA. So we're uniquely situated. So we talk to our users on a daily basis, and we learn of what works for them, and they come to the table with ideas and solutions that we haven't even considered. So there's a number of things that are already operating in the VLab that we got from our own users. So the idea that the strategic goal of bringing things under one roof of a virtual lab and sharing the information indeed works, which is gratifying to see. On the AWIP side, we found that establishing a local development environment for AWIPs is still far too problematic. So for those of you who work in the AWIPS world, the idea is a local developer can clone the AWIPS repo and then begin working on a laptop or something from wherever they happen to be located. But there's still difficulties in getting that to work. So we're exploring some new technical solutions to try to improve that, so that basically it's much easier. We lower the bar for people to help us out to doing this kind of work in AWIPS, and this certainly applies in other areas. Number 10, we must improve our expertise in user interface design. So we've come to recognize that we don't have a lot of expertise in this area, and we need it. So the look and feel, how do you arrange web content in a way that facilitates what you're trying to do? So we're looking to improve in this area. It represents a gap in our expertise at the moment. There's an ongoing need for user training. So we've seen that you sort of have your initial training for somebody who's never visited the VLab, and then there is a definite need to have VLab training on specific aspects, whether it's Redmine or LifeRay, or intermediate users, advanced users, etc. So this clearly presents itself again on a daily basis, that there's sort of a never-ending need to provide this type of training to facilitate, again, the users to be able to use the VLab as effectively as possible. Number 12, the Google suite of collaboration tools can be effectively integrated, leveraged within VLab. At the outset, we got a lot of questions, and we still get these questions. So why should I use VLab versus Google Sites, etc.? And we would present arguments towards one or the other. But the fact is that there are many projects and communities operating where there's basically an integration. So that and this is what the LifeRay portal software does. It allows you to aggregate different types of content and applications. So you will see, if you were to peruse some of the communities, folks who are using the Google tools within their VLab communities or projects. So it's basically works quite well. Another thing we've recognized is that we need to work on building a greater sense of community among VLab users. So as I was saying before, we and the VLab staff, we're sort of uniquely positioned that we can see what's going on across the VLab and have some sense of the activity and what's going on. But it's safe to say that's not, VLab as a resource, we still don't have, I think, this shared sense of community where we can provide that information more effectively and make people aware of what's going on and share these best practices. So this needs some work, definitely. So let me shift gears briefly to some upcoming enhancements to give you a sense for what's coming up the pike in the near term. A high priority, the highest priority we've received from a number of different users is to implement a single sign-on, or sometimes called the Google pass-through. So in other words, when you log into your email account in the morning, in NOAA anyway, that you would no longer have to sign in a second time using the same account and password to get in the VLab. That basically there would be a pass-through login put in place, and that would simplify things greatly. So that's been identified as the highest priority. We're working on it. Unfortunately, Google has made it more problematic for us to do this with their announcement that they are shutting down the OpenID 2.0 on April 20th, 2015. That is very unfortunate. We've sort of said, what is Google thinking? Because Google has many users using this OpenID 2.0, and their arms are up in the air asking the same questions. So it would be nice if Google would rescind that, because that would mean we could implement, pretty much right today. But that's been a monkey wrench in moving forward. They're presenting another solution, but that solution hasn't been distributed across the other products like Jared and Jenkins yet, which is and Redmine. So that is that's why we provided an asterisk on this particular item. But it is the #1 priority. We've got closer integration of VLab components is another enhancement. So now that we're operating in basically the same web farm environment, we have a potential to do this much more smoothly. So so things, closer integration between that Redmine site and the LifeArray, and the ability to have something like a My Development Projects portlet or My Issues portlet. So basically, when you log in the VLab, you see things integrated across both spaces in a way that is meaningful to the user. Number 3, we're about to roll out a pilot for this project repository portlet, which would allow users to provide much more transparency onto the actual projects that are in the VLab, as well as projects which are in NOAA and not necessarily in the VLab. So this gets into a NOAA level exercise to try to have almost like an inventory of what's going on at the project level across NOAA. So we're going to be piloting this new portlet in February, hopefully, and extending that out to the operational version of VLab, hopefully in the not too distant future. And this dovetails with a idea, a suggestion that we got from Ken Johnson in Eastern Region to create an ideas marketplace, which essentially operates lower down in the development stage, where something is not even a project yet, but basically an idea or suggestion. So we want to leverage these two projects to create a new capability. And we're going to be providing some troubleshooting forum as well, hopefully next month, which will allow folks to basically to get solutions to problems that are often repeated and which we know about and other users encounter where there's a known solution. So we're going to be providing that. And it will also be a place where people can post questions and hopefully get answers to things that may be, encumbering what they're trying to do. On the longer horizon, here's some things that we're considering. One is this idea of Open VLab, which ties back to that question of the desire to have a more easier collaboration for non-NOAA users. So that this would almost be like a second instance of VLab that was less restrictive, and it would allow partners in universities and even the private sector to collaborate with us and where it was appropriate. Enabling the HiWIP NGGFS development. So there's this big new project that's in place. We had a briefing last month on the HiWIP, new modeling, next generation modeling work, and there's a desire to implement a development solution for this numerical weather prediction project. And so we're going to be working with OAR and NCEP to try to put this in place using the tools that are in VLab. Central development and testing environment. This is also a sort of strategic goal to allow for more, you could say, cloud-like aspect to VLab, where people could, again, in association with the data at the NCEP NCO, to be able to do AWIPS development and testing or other types of modeling work, taking advantage of that sort of hybrid cloud solution. So that now is something that can be explored given our new rehosting, and we would like to move forward with that. The number 4 is migration of the AWIPS software collaboration portal to VLab. So this is an existing aspect for local applications that was put in place here at headquarters, and it's sort of getting at end of life and running into some issues. So we need to migrate that to the virtual lab. Other things, customizable landing pages. I think we already talked about that briefly, and we're back when we came up with the VLab vision, there was an idea to share expertise across the VLab, and that would take the form of a portlet that one could search to try to find subject matter experts if you were looking for that type of thing to advance your project or your goals. So I think that's pretty much the rundown, and that took about 30 minutes. So at this point, I'd like to open up to take questions or comments, and please use the raise your hand feature in the GoToMeeting, and John Chattel will unmute you, or you can use the chat as well. So I can't ask questions of myself, which is the normal. So John, do we have?
We not. While you're thinking, what is a landing page?
The landing page is the initial page that you see when you go to a particular site. It's the introductory page that greets you when you click on that URL. And the idea is that from the landing page you can then explore other aspects of the site. But the landing page is often the initial impression that users get, and you want that to be effective so it doesn't confuse them, provides them the information that they need in an efficient way.
Daniel Melendez has a question, and he's unmuted.
Go ahead, Daniel. Daniel?
Okay, if he can't get to us, one more time. But he did want to know, he says, what are the plans to make VLab interface more user-friendly, more intuitive admin function?
Okay, so one of the things that we're putting in place is what we're calling a collaboration team. So we've put out a request from, in this case, the Weather Service regions to have some energetic, enthusiastic, and knowledgeable folks who will be working with us to address that very aspect of VLab. So we recognize that the look and feel is a tough one to tackle, and we're in a better position when we get a broad spectrum of opinions on that. So we're hoping to stand it up pretty soon, and basically those folks will be working side by side with us to try to get things right. And I say that in quotation marks because, again, every user has sort of a different perspective of how they like to see things, and et cetera. So, but that's the answer to that question.
You don't have anyone else asking questions?
How do you get people to be aware of VLab, and is it your goal to get, is it the goal to get, like all of National Weather Service, to be using VLab for their development?
I'll answer the latter question first. So the goal would be to get all the relevant parts of National Weather Service to use it, and those would be folks engaged in development, which is designated to transition to operations. So whether that's numerical weather prediction modeling, or AWIPS development, or web services development, the answer would be for that. We're not expecting, or we're not asking that every field operations or parts of the the CFO or et cetera. That's not our target audience. But the relevant ones, basically folks involved in projects that are running through the new Science and Technology Integration Office, for example, the STI. As to the former question, we've had a marketing strategy that's been a combination of grassroots word of mouth, as well as some targeted sort of demonstrations is the way we normally operate. So we've provided, oh, Lord knows, I've lost count of how many demos for different organizations and sub-organizations within NOAA. And through those, we pick up new users and new projects and communities. But that's a never-ending task, and we barely scratched the surface in that regard with other line offices in NOAA. So in the next year, we're going to be providing more direct, you could say, marketing to some of the other line offices in NOAA. In particular, OAR, who is our main partner for research that's targeted for National Weather Service.
Let's see, Ivory Small asked this question. If a lot of us start using VLab, will we have limitations on how much we use it, like computer accounts with credit?
So currently, we're nowhere near saturation in terms of our main limitation would be disk space, but we're very well. We have lots of room for growth currently in that area. So if someone comes to us and they need terabytes of data storage space, that's a different issue. But generally, most of what we're doing now doesn't come anywhere near that. So I suspect that's not an issue. Now, later on, if we start doing things in the arena of providing real-time testing and development, that may be a different issue. That's a much more challenging software engineering solution, and one that would require more resources. But right now, we haven't seen any slowdown in performance. In fact, now that we're in the IDP, where our performance has improved dramatically, at least that's what we've been getting anecdotally from our users. Some of the things that they do on a day-to-day basis, they're finding much quicker response, and that's to be expected.
Ivory, you're unmuted. Did we answer the question okay for you? Okay. So Matthew Bunker asked this question. So is the VLab primarily for software development? If so, then I wonder why the regions are urging the SUs to use it or, for just about everything. Thanks.
No, it's not just for software development. It's to facilitate collaboration on any level, actually, and so it's very appropriate that, in particular in the region, in the area of our SU communities in the various regions, should use this as a resource to share information, science and technology information, engage in any type of collaboration that would potentially improve operations, whether or not it involves software development. The fact is, though, that almost everything eventually involves some software development. But the initial collaboration and use can take place, independently of any of that. Part of the reason that the regions are being encouraged to do this is that gets into this cost effectiveness issue. So we're providing these tools centrally at a very minimal cost, and that it then allows to have this cost savings basically in the operational area if everyone uses the same tools. But it's far more than just software development. In fact, this is one of the areas where I know some folks are interested in following. This is partly what Ken Johnson in Eastern Region was interested in, is the path from idea to collaboration to eventually some sort of project that would result in software development that would lead to a new operational capability.
And Matthew, did we get your question answered satisfactorily?
Yes, thanks.
Do you have any other questions? Anything from in the room?
Yes. You mentioned AWIPS a time or two, and that development was going to be done through that, but not local development. So you want to expand on that a little bit. Is it only central that's being supported and so forth?
Well, local development we're targeting the migration of the local development as well to the VLab. But local development or local application development has been managed so far under this software collaboration portal, and it's independent of that of the baseline. However, the idea has always been, and this does occur, that some local applications that rise to the level of being deemed by the field as highly useful have been and will continue to be targeted for baseline implementation, in which case there is a relationship between the two. But we're not managing the process which designates that this particular local application should become a baseline application. But we want to make that, if it is designated, then having everything operating within the VLab would make it much simpler to carry out that transition.
Are the tools in VLab ones that were independently and locally developed, or were they taken from off the shelf?
The framework tools?
The tools that, you know.
Well, they were the LifeRay and Redmine were independently developed. They're open source tools used for a variety of projects. We just applied them to create the framework for the virtual lab. So they were not designed by us, and they weren't designed for the purpose that we're applying them to. We adapted them to this, yes.
We've seen some communities particularly get established or get started up, and then they sort of falter along the way. What are some resources that people can turn to if they find themselves in that situation?
Yes. So the number one resource is the virtual lab support team, and that, as I mentioned early on in the talk, we have someone staffed during business hours Monday through Friday, and we provide troubleshooting assistance as well as consultation services. So a number of folks have taken advantage of that. If you're running into difficulties or you just want to brainstorm, you can contact somebody on the virtual lab support team, and then we can have the appropriate consultation to help out in improving whatever it is you want to do. So that's the number one thing to do. The other area is of course we have our user's guide as well as some other training that's available. But I would highly suggest that you contact a live person and through the support team to assist in that. The other area too, of course, is we make available the virtual lab focal point meetings are open to anyone, and if you attend those, you can be exposed to other projects and other communities and learn what they're doing, and that can generate ideas for you on how to invigorate your community or project.
Send out the email that folks can contact us at. So that's available.
Very good. Very good.
Another question. How, if at all, does this interact with cards, which is the proposed replacement for OSIP?
So we have been communicating with the team that's working on the cards project in order to understand their requirements, and if and when they move forward with their card system, that we would be able to basically either interface with that or actually support it within some part of the virtual lab. So they don't, and we don't want them to have to set up a completely separate system to manage it, because there is significant overlap. So basically, we're in as close coordination as we can with Cindy Woods and Carlos Diaz. They're our main contacts on that. Okay, well, I thank everyone for joining, and if you have other comments or questions that you would like to pose offline, and you can either send me or John Chattel an email or contact us in any other way, and we'll get back with you. If not, thank you so much, and we're looking forward to FY and calendar year 2015, another great year. So thank you, everyone.